I have three news stories for you. Firstly, viewers, the US is emerging as a party to Sudanese political conflict. Today, massive protests are expected in Sudan in support of civilian part of Sudanese government. And at this critical time, US Secretary of State has issued a very important statement. He is calling upon people to assemble to protest. Secondly, viewers, the UN has decided to withdraw half of its officials from Tigray, an alarming development because whatever we know about humanitarian situation is in Tigray, it was conveyed to us by aid agencies. And the situation regarding delivery of aid, these agencies keep on updating us. Now when UN is withdrawing its workers from Tigray, it means that delivery of aid to Tigray will be further hampered. We'll talk about it in detail, viewers. And lastly, some updates from Chifra front of a far region. TDF is back in Chifra. Several sources have confirmed. Why did TDF withdraw from Chifra? What is the situation on the ground? Is TDF in full control of Chifra? We have some updates for you. Firstly, we are Sudan. Today, massive protests are expected across Sudan in support of Sudanese politicians. On Saturday, we saw protests in support of Sudanese military. On Saturday, protesters called upon Sudanese military to seize power. The protests were backed by Sudanese military. They were directed against Sudanese politicians. Then Sudanese politicians gave a call for protests, and today massive protests are expected in support of Sudanese politicians. Now, at this critical time, US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken a few hours ago issued a statement. He says, the US calls upon the people of Sudan to exercise their right to assembly. He is calling upon Sudanese people to take to the streets. An interesting development, viewers. It means US is interfering in Sudanese internal matters. A very surprising statement for me, viewers. I mean, now the US is emerging as a party to political conflict in Sudan. It is openly backing PM Abdullah Hamdok. Abdullah Hamdok visited the US a few days ago, and we saw a statement in support of PM Abdullah Hamdok from the US a few days ago. Now US is openly backing Sudanese politicians. Sudanese military does not want to hand over the chairmanship of Sudan's powerful body, Sovereignty Council. The Sovereignty Council was formed 2 years ago. It was formed for 4 years, and it was decided in 2019 that Sudan military will head this body for 2 years. Then in 2021, Sudanese politicians will take over. Now, Sudanese politicians are due to take over this powerful body, Sovereignty Council. But military is not willing to hand over the chairmanship of Sovereignty Council. That is why tensions are rising. Both sides, Sudanese politicians in government and Sudanese military, they are sticking to their positions. Political deadlock persists, and the US is backing Sudanese politicians. That's what happens in today's protests. Secondly, viewers, the UN is withdrawing half of its aid workers in Tigray. Out of 530 UN officials, 220 are expected to be withdrawn in the coming days. Yesterday, UN confirmed that due to prevailing deteriorating security situation and constraints on humanitarian work, UN has decided to withdraw half of its staff from Tigray. A very important development, viewers. Tigray is in need of aid, we know that, and aid agencies have been trying their best for delivery of aid to Tigray, though Ethiopian government has been accusing them of supporting TPLF. But now when UN is withdrawing its staff from Tigray, it shows that security situation in Tigray could worsen in coming days. We saw airstrikes yesterday and 2 days ago as well. Airstrikes are being launched by Ethiopian Air Force. That is why now UN has decided to withdraw its staff. Secondly, no aid is entering Tigray through Afar because fighting is going on in Afar between TDF and Afar forces supported by ENDF. So the only road open for delivery of aid to Tigray through Afar is almost blocked, viewers. So that is why UN is withdrawing half of its staff from Tigray. Secondly, protests are underway these minutes in Samra, capital of Afar region. People are protesting against Tigray People Liberation Front. Yesterday, some Afar leaders called for these protests, and today protests are underway in Samra, capital of Afar region. Lastly, viewers, Chifra. TDF is back in Chifra town of Afar region. We have received this confirmation. Several sources have confirmed that TDF is back in Afar region, in Chifra town of Afar region. Afar forces, ENDF, they tried to push TDF out of Chifra, but TDF is now in full control of Chifra town. Afar news sources say that Ethiopian National Defense Force is not backing Afar fighters, and on this front, ENDF has not deployed lots of its military resources. TDF says that it adopted a strategy which outsmarted ENDF and Afar forces on this front. TDF says that it entered Chifra, but there ENDF was in possession of heavy weaponry, artillery pieces, tanks were there in possession of ENDF. So instead of fighting in Chifra town, TDF decided to withdraw towards mountainous areas. ENDF Afar forces followed them in mountainous areas, but they left their heavy equipment, their artillery pieces, their tanks on the ground in Afar town because obviously it was not possible for them to take this heavy military equipment to mountainous areas. Fighting occurred there. TDF says it defeated Afar forces, ENDF, there in the mountains. Then it came back into the town where it has captured ENDF's heavy weaponry, its artillery pieces, its tanks. Whatever was the mode of operations adopted by Tigray Defense Force, we can confirm that TDF is back in Chifra town of Afar. Will TDF move towards Mille, towards Djibouti, Ethiopia road? That remains to be seen. But it seems that now TDF is in a strong position in Chifra town of Afar region. Thank you for watching.